Hey, g'day.
Hey, what's this, part 2 already?
Master segue.
Oh.
You're on fire. I only got one word in and you did a segue. Yes, this is part 2.
Part 2, what are we talking about?
Oh, shit. He's
Sugar
just
taxes
screwing with me.
or-
Sugar tax and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is the part 2. No, this is the part where I want to explain how we got to this point. Because back in the 1940s and 50s...
When I was a kid at school, yeah.
They knew this was going to happen.
Did they?
Yeah, but it wasn't suiting their agenda, so they didn't want to tell us.
Agenda?
Basically, what we're talking about here is big business. All right?
Right.
So, in the first half of this podcast, so for you guys that have come into this one, go back and listen to the other one.
Yeah,
and then you're kind of going to be thinking, what the hell are they
what are they
talking about? They
trying?
didn't even introduce properly. Where the bloody hell's Jeff? This is a shambles.
Yes.
That's what people will be thinking if they come in here. Well, Jeff's dead. No, he's not. No, he's not. He just doesn't like conspiracy theories, so he didn't want to be part of it.
Just
And it's a conspiracy fact. That's what he doesn't like.
Yeah, no, this is not even... Yeah,
This is not quackery.
I got to remember, I'm straight down the line, evidence guy, where's the papers, all that. You know, I'm skeptical. I don't
where's
believe
the
in
papers?
ghosts.
Well
so
done. That's the classic. Where's the papers
Where's
gone?
the papers
They're hidden.
gone? I was in the dunny before. Where's the paper?
No different ones.
Yeah.
No, so basically, we talked about the first half of this. We're talking about sugar tax. We talked about the fact that we've got this food pyramid that we're all told to eat. We got these products full of sugar. We got sweetened products. We got everyone can't even have a drink without adding sugar to it. We got addictions to this bliss point, addictions to sugar, which doesn't exist anymore apparently. And now we've got to this point where we know sugar makes us fat.
Yes.
We know sugar causes heart disease. We know sugar rots our teeth. We know all of these things. Yet the government insists we eat majority of our calories come from sugar.
Yes.
And now to discourage us from actually following their instructions, this is the weirdest bit. So they give us a food pyramid. They tell us to eat this, and then they say, but we're going to tax you to discourage you.
Right, they tell us to eat a lot of carbohydrates, and all carbohydrates turn into turn into sugar, and sugar on its own is obviously sugar. And we've had this big industry, you said, influencing us. Because
See, a lot of this comes out of the States.
Right.
So basically, let me quickly tell you something that happened around the 40s and 50s.
Right.
So in 1950s, they discovered that sugar causes heart disease. They specifically found that it was the sucrose they were referring to, so table sugar.
Table sugar.
People that add sugar to their foods get more heart disease. And they compared that even to people that eat the same amount of sugar from fruits and vegetables and even starches and cereals and grains and legumes and that. So they've known since the 1950s, people that add table sugar to their product is fine. Now, if you have a look at, they've compared that to fruit sugars and that.
Yes.
Now, sucrose, table sugar.
Yep.
What's that, glucose, fructose?
Yeah, I know, glucose, maltose, I can't remember. It's a disaccharide.
Yeah, it's got fructose as part of it.
It's fructose.
So fructose. So the funny thing is this is where they've gone and attacked fructose because when they found starch, didn't have the same problem, which was multiple chains of glucose. It just didn't have the fructose. So they've gone, aha, it's the fructose that's evil, but not if it's in a fruit.
Right.
Because the fruit
I'm following
has a
you.
So no. So this is all back in the 50s.
Yeah.
They're basically just trying to work out, hang on, sugar's not sugar. And they've realised that some sugars are associated with fruit and vegetables, legumes, they're okay. But sugars from the sugar industry, where we're talking about refined sugar coming from sugar canes or sugar beets and that sort of stuff, is evil and contributes to heart disease. Now, there is the Sugar Association. These are business, okay? So sugar farmers and sugar producers have an association. That association is responsible for helping their business to be successful.
Right. Well, you wouldn't want that evidence to leak out to the public, would you? Because that could harm sales.
It's exactly. So the Sugar Research Foundation, they were designed by the Sugar Association.
Yeah.
So the guys that make business out of sugar created a Sugar Research Foundation.
Always worry when sugar research means that sounds like a perception of bias.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me saying I'm going to research how good I am at something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what I'm going to look up.
Yeah, exactly. So the Sugar Research Foundation had this guy, Roger Adams, from 1959 to 1971 was their scientific advisor. And what he was doing was driving a marketing campaign.
That'd be a sweet job.
Yeah, man, it's funny. Yeah, there's So then, what's really funny, so we're talking about 1950. They
Yes.
said, okay, so there's starting to get some rumours around that adding sugar to your food's adding to obesity, diabetes, heart disease.
Yes.
1954, it started becoming a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Because what happened in 1954 is their business was declining,
Right.
and the sugar farmers were going back to their association going, hang on, we wanted to make more money.
Yeah.
So then this guy, Henry Hass, I'm going to name all these people.
You're naming them.
Half of them probably dead now, but probably
Yeah, I think
diabetes
Hass
too.
died.
But he was the head of the Sugar Association, and he did a pitch to his investors.
Yep.
And the other members of the association. The paper, that the title of his talk was "What's New in Sugar Research?"
Oh.
And what he did is he went and explained that what's new in sugar research is yet to be published because they're going to fund it. So what he basically said is, we have a new marketing campaign.
Yes.
What we have worked out is that the government gives out these things called food pyramids. The government tells you exactly what to eat.
Yeah.
They believed they could create a business plan where they would invest money into creating educational material or marketing material. They would invest money into educating policymakers, government officials that had no scientific background.
No.
So they wanted to put a lot of money into that with the goal of taking 20% of the calories allocated to fat
Right.
to sugar. So basically the government will say, at that time, the American Heart Association
Yep.
was saying 40% of your calories from fats is healthy.
Right.
So they created a campaign of designing science, funding and designing science, hiding data, discrediting anyone else that questioned their science as quacks and quackery. They then invested a lot of money into educating politicians, government officials, policymakers on their version of the science and heart disease.
Right.
With the goal
Yes.
of discrediting fat
Yeah.
to take 20% of the allocated calories
Yep.
from the government away from fat to give to sugar.
Right.
So a quick 20% shift.
Sure.
All we're going to do is take 20% of the business off our main competitor,
which is fat.
the fat.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a business meeting here, a
Yeah.
business plan and a discussion
Yeah.
that was had amongst investors and members of an association. At no point did they care that they're planning to kill everyone, that the plan of creating this obesity epidemic. They actually lied, they hid information, and they did it all in plain sight.
Yep.
And it's all published. I got a really cool paper published in JAMA. What's that, Journal of American Medical Association?
It's a big journal.
Yeah, it's a big journal. It's called Sugar Industry and Coronary Heart Disease Research, a historical analysis of internal industry documents.
That was by Kearns.
Yeah, and these guys basically went through because it's, I don't know, what's it, 50 years or something?
Yeah.
So after something dodgy happens, they got to wait a period of time before
Yes.
they can tell us.
Yes.
So we've hit that period of time.
We have.
Now, I believe something goes from a conspiracy theory to a conspiracy fact when we get documents like this published that cannot make the news because the news is too busy talking about a sugar tax.
No,
Like, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
when I
this is
run you
crazy.
through it. So let's have a look. So Henry Hass, 1954, created a business plan
Yep.
to steal 20% of the recommended calories off fat.
Yeah.
Steal 20% of their market
And
share.
demonise fat.
And
Fat's
that's
bad.
how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Not because they couldn't do anything by saying sugar's good other than it gives you energy, motivation. It's our preferred source of energy.
Clears your brain
Yeah, that sort of stuff they talk about.
for a few minutes.
Just watch now. They're doing it in third world countries with Coca-Cola. Same
Mm.
campaign. So, anyway, then what they did this business plan.
Mm-hmm.
They invested $600,000 at that time. So in 1954, 600,000. In today's days, that's like 5.3 million.
Right. Jeez,
Yeah.
that's a good...
No, I wrote that. It's
Oh,
just-
right.
no, it's in the paper.
Yeah.
2016, that was equivalent 5. Man, I don't do maths like that.
That was incredible.
Especially financial maths.
You should have said now that you should have looked up and gone, oh, yeah, 5.3 million.
No, I just do what I told the school teachers I would always do.
What was
Well, the
that?
school teacher sitting there going, oh, you're not going to walk around with a calculator in your pocket everywhere you go, are you? Look at me now, dickhead.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my calculator can even ring people and look at
Yeah.
boobs on the internet.
Yeah,
and not
exactly.
just write boobs like in 8008. I can actually look up boobs on the internet with this amazing calculator. Oh, it's my phone.
I was trying to think, what are those numbers again? And that's right. It's actually 580.
Yeah. I like the other one, which was, what was it, 36637?
What's that?
Leg.
Oh,
So I could do leg boobs.
Shell oil, I think, was the classic one that we did.
Oh, you're a nerd.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
we'll get on to Shell oil conspiracies next podcast.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, Henry Hass says, well, hey, here's my business plan. We're going to
Yep.
steal a heap of money off the fat industry to give to us sugar guys. I don't care about all the people that are going to die.
Stuff 'em.
And he tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to invest $5.3 million equivalent to teach biochemistry to government officials.
Right.
I'm going to teach people with no scientific background how it works.
Yes.
And at the same time, they're going to get so excited that
Yep.
they're going to take that 40% of allocated calories to fat down to 20%.
Why not?
And they're going to say, we can add 25% of your calories can be from table sugar. And that's what makes you healthy.
Yeah, of course it does. White,
Yep.
it's got to be healthy.
Yep.
So let's just get this right. There's none of this sort of nutrition sounds like, what's the word, science or evidence. There's none of that in this discussion so far.
Yeah, shitload of it. Let
Oh,
me tell
okay.
you how they
Good.
did it.
Yeah.
So it was 1954. They said, let's just start this campaign of slander and destruction
You can imagine them.
and start doing that.
The thin black ties, the white shirts, all sitting around smoking.
Yep. And this is the thing, 1962,
Yep.
they basically made all these big statements saying that eating low fat and having sugar is the best thing for you. Of
course it is.
But in 1962, they realised that it actually causes heart disease.
Oh,
They started to panic.
There's a flaw
because
in
they've
our
been
thing.
saying all this sort of stuff, but there was this group guy called Yudkin, and there's another Iowa group.
Yep.
And these guys were doing just independent research, just analysing things, going, man, seriously, our research is saying that 10% of your calories from refined sugar makes sense, not 25%.
yeah.
And that we should keep our good fats at 30 to 40%. And they were coming out saying, no, seriously, it's when you have sugar without good oils, without fibre, and without whole foods, the polyphenols and that sort of stuff, we get heart disease.
like you find in the table sugar.
Like we're finding now, like all the research is saying, you eat this sugar without the other stuff, like you eat this extracted energy.
Concentrate.
You're just taking the concentrated energy. You're leaving away all the vitamins, minerals, fibers, polyphenols. Everything's gone to spike up that component into the food. What's worse over the last 50 years for us is through farming practices, we've lost the polyphenols and peels and skins as well.
Yeah.
But at that time, if they were to acknowledge that that was the thing saving people,
Yes.
Instead what they did is they created this big campaign. So in 1964... what happened, this guy, John Hickson, he started reporting all this evidence of sucrose refined as added sugar is not as good as carbs from healthy food. So this guy's 1962, 1964,
Yep.
From 1957 on. These guys are all starting to come out. This John Hickson fella saying,
a hero.
no, man, it's not. And then what happened, this Hickson fella, he was actually part of the Sugar Research Fund.
Ah.
So he was going back to the Sugar Research Fund saying, man, there's papers out there by these guys that's actually not saying what we're saying.
No.
That we should really start to be worried
Yes.
because there's evidence showing us other. So what he did is he instigated a campaign against Yudkin's Iowa group, and what he instigated was the quackery campaign. So what he started doing is anyone that questioned their sugar Bible was looked as a blasphemer or a
Right.
quackery.
Yep.
So what they basically did is they went and they pulled the actual scientists in front of this board of directors. So, and what he said is we're going to bring detractors before a board of their peers where their fallacies could be unveiled. And so what they basically did is they did a slanderous campaign against the authors and made them out to be quacks and crackpots and, like old Wakefield with his vaccinations and that sort of stuff they're doing now. But like you see these, the campaign of anyone that questions us, we're going to humiliate them and their science is going to be discredited.
Yes.
Not that the science was perfect
Yes.
and everything and it was fine and they didn't have an agenda.
Yeah.
They weren't paid like these other guys were. So, and then around 1965, what happened? So we're looking around all these from the 50s through. We're looking at 15 years here of just conspiracies, covers up, anything that didn't say what they want. They're basically wiping it out. Anytime, even those paper by Hinkson and those, they actually made the New York Times. Actually going, hey man, we discovered this. These guys then went and took out all these front page newspaper things to discredit the authors and say it's all quackery.
And you got to remember, back in '65, you couldn't just quote fact check it on quote the internet or social media. There was none of that around.
Didn't exist.
No, so you couldn't do the checks.
Yeah. And what they basically did, so he got these guys with their papers, he ripped them apart. Then what he did is he paid other people to conduct a trial to prove otherwise. And then they published their papers saying, no, see, those people said this, but we've proven otherwise.
Yes.
With our funding and our science team, not independent. And so it's really weird. Then what happened around 65 is this guy, Frederick Stare. He was like this person you talk about with an absolute consensus. He's the government's favourite dietitian. So he was a dietitian the government loved. He had amazing reputation at the time. And he was a specialist when it comes to diet for cardiovascular disease.
Right. Okay.
So he got bought out by the Sugar Research Fund.
Good
And
money
he got
if you
put
can
in
get
as like a spokesman to run their innovation and oversee their trials.
Yes.
And then what happened, man? In 1965, they eventually published this paper. But all those from the 1950s and 1960s and that, these guys were creating this massive bullshit campaign behind the scenes to say that fat is evil, sugar's fine.
Yes.
And then they published this paper in 1965. So what they did is this Frederick Stare fella, he went and got this guy from Harvard University who was actually a famous researcher. So he got this guy from Harvard University. They found these other people that had got these reputations and went and used them to fund studies. They paid one of them, which were these two guys? So Hegstead. So look up these names. Mark Hegstead, he's the guy from Harvard. And then Frederick Stare was the guy that actually coordinated the whole project. So they gave, and then there's this other guy called McGandy. And McGandy was the other scientist linked in with it. So they paid Hegstead, and this is all documented in this. Yeah, they got the actual document.
This is in JAMA.
They paid Hegstead $500, $500.
Yeah.
Like, man, seriously. I don't know. $500.
I would have done it for 300 or 400.
Yeah. Well, McGandy asked for $1,000.
Oh.
And the conditions were, we're going to pay you half now, because this is a dodgy deal. This is the way you do dodgy deals. Half now, half upon completion.
Yes.
If it says what we want it to say.
Yes.
So what happened is it took these guys a while to pay it. These guys kept coming back. Oh, man, no, this other paper's been published by the Iowa group, again, saying what we're saying, opposite to what we're saying. We need more money. Yeah. So by the time the paper was published, these guys got paid $6,500. Which is equivalent in today's time at $50,000. So approximately. So yeah, looking at equivalent to $50,000, these two guys got paid to spend the next 50 years ruining people's lives. Yes. They're evil asses.
Terrible.
Like, this is disgusting. So basically, and by the way, this is called Project 226. If you want to research the actual scam itself, and you can look into it. They're all dodgy names like that, eh?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, basically, these guys got paid a shitload of money at that time. Well, not even a shitload. They got paid bugger all, really, to sell their soul and ruin the world.
Corruption was in its infancy back then.
If they knew, they must have known how evil it is, because they were kept asking for more money to say it.
They probably didn't give a shit, you know what I mean? They probably, it's like, you know, you got to remember there's people back then, you know, like we go back, we mentioned Ansel Keys, you know, he was famous for saying that animal fat's the enemy and everything else is fine. Yeah. You know, basically. So if the enemy's already been...
When was that?
Well, with his study, 55 was Keys, but his first study was 48.
Yeah, see, and then showing that this is where the conspiracies have all started. What we got in that chart is he's showing animal fat causes heart disease.
Well, it's associated with
heart disease, and he's got exactly the same graph for sugar. But he just said that it's animal fat. Yeah. And that's the same guy that had 22 countries and he dropped 15 and just picked on 7?
Just pick 7. It's a key 7. That's a 7 study. So basically he came out and said that, look, there's 7 countries. I've looked at the data of 7 countries, and the more fat they ate, the more heart disease they got. Now, firstly, association doesn't mean causation. So, like, you know, I was born in 69. The fluoride put in water in 1970. Since then, dental caries have gone down. Is it my birth, like JC born, or the fluoride, or none of the above? The answer is none of the above. Yeah. But the funny thing is, that's just an association. Yeah. It's not a causation.
But they'll use that to make policies if it suits industry.
Oh, plus these guys they weren't that good scientists. No, you know,
at that time, if you around that same era, you know, these are back in the 60s, but if you look up the Iowa group, which was Lopez, Hodges, and Krell, they just kept showing all this evidence that the refined sugar was causing heart disease. Yeah. And then this Hegstead and McGandy, they just were paid all these people to discredit them and then publish little snippets of documents just saying the opposite. But they didn't publish those things in medical journals. No. They wrote them for the newspapers. And they wrote them for the politicians. So they were allowing these people to do proper science in peer-reviewed science journals, which were being published because it was proper science.
Yes.
Their rebuttals were going direct to politicians, going into the newspapers to try to change policy.
It's actually very smart, and I don't want to compliment them, but that's the way you do it.
Well, that's how you do business, but this is health, Steve.
Yeah, I know.
This is killing people.
Oh, and what they would have done, I think I remember seeing one of them, they're saying it's preposterous to think you don't find sugar in the arteries, you find fat.
Yeah.
You know, so this was one of their articles. So they play on emotions.
And that's how that's easy to teach a politician biochemistry when you say it like that.
Yeah.
Like, I eat fat, I've got fat in my arteries, obviously it's fat, there's no sugar in my arteries.
I've got a fat ass, I haven't got a sugar ass.
Yeah, no, because that's a bit weird.
That's a bit weird.
Yeah. Project 226 then was published in 1967 in the New England Journal of Medicine, and the conclusion was there is no doubt the only dietary change needed to fix heart disease is avoiding fat and cholesterol.
There you go. There's no doubt.
Hey, but in that paper...
What does that sound like?
This is the coolest bit, though. Yeah, I know. That's absolute consensus. Yes. In that paper, though, they did actually say that he did make an admission that there is a link between sucrose and heart disease, but it happens via the microbiome. So it's not a direct link, therefore it's got nothing to do with us. And at that time, talking about words like microbiome, like they would have just gone, oh, okay. I mean, you did that last week with a group of doctors. You talked to them about microbiome.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I know it exists.
That was fascinating because the doctors today. I mean, I went to a cosmetic doctors a conference on the Gold Coast, and I spoke to some doctors there about the microbiome. And you know, my father-in-law is a doctor, and I said, well, what do doctors know about microbiome? And he said, look, it's commensal bacteria. It's there, and antibiotics upset them. That's it. Nothing else. No short chain fatty acids or soluble, insoluble fibers. No. And this is what medical...
Not even... The thing that spins me out, it's the major influencer on pharmacokinetics when they're looking at their drugs. And they don't acknowledge it. It spins me out, eh?
Oh, there's more bugs than cells. Yeah, and it's just crazy.
With these conspiracies, so these guys publishing all this stuff around the 60s.
Yes.
And it wasn't until the 1980s that New England Journal of Medicine made it compulsory to actually list who funded the study. So before then, they had no need to disclose their bias, their conflict of interest. They didn't need to say that they were actually funded by this with the objective of the study being this. Yeah. But they've got it all in all their email streams, their letters, their correspondence, their conversations, their meeting notes, and then all of the papers that they published and snuck out.
It's pretty incredible because, but
that was ages ago, Steve.
Yeah, it was ages ago.
We wouldn't have that now.
No,
Let me tell you what they bloody do now.
Yeah,
I found this.
You got to go. That's amazing.
Because I'm like, oh man, the olden days, that was evil, you know? Yeah. And this is how we end up in this position. Surely that wouldn't happen again.
We may as well tell people who the World Health Organization is, the WHO. They're like...
Does anyone know?
No, they're a group of experts that set health policy throughout the world. There you go. I'm going to use the word experts.
Yeah, they're a group of people that set health policies. That's true.
That's it.
The World Health Organization, different to the World Health Association. And it's interesting to see where the funding from the World Health Organization comes from if you want to follow the money. In fact, it's easy to follow the money because these guys publish this stuff. Like, seriously, man. Don't forget, that's the laws of the Illuminati. Put it in plain sight. No,
yes.
I'm talking conspiracy facts and theories today.
That's true.
But man, seriously, this bugs me. So in this basically paper, it says here, so the World Health Organization did this big paper. What was it called? You can look this up. The Technical Report 916, the World Health Organization Technical Report.
It's
a 61-page document that actually goes through and lists off all this stuff. And at the end of the report, they've come back and said, we believe for cardiovascular disease, diabetes and obesity, that no more than 10% of our calories should come from refined added table sugar.
Less than 10%.
So they're saying up to 10%, according to their things, it's okay if 10% of your calories comes from added table sugar. Okay? Now, which is probably very reasonable considering you don't have to add any sugar. They could come back and say, don't add any. There's enough sugar in your food, this amount of carbohydrates.
They've got to give a little bit.
They've also said that around the 30% of the calories should come from good fats.
Oh,
so they've actually gone back. They've done analysis again. This was published, this is in 2003. So this is 2003. So it's a little bit more recent. But I haven't seen it change our food pyramids for some reason, Steve-O.
I don't know why.
So what happened here, 2003, these guys said, right, we want to change the rules to go 10% of our calories from refined sugar. and jack the fats back up to 30% as
Good.
long as they're good fats. But
Good.
definitely avoid the trans fats and
Yep.
avoid the saturated fats. It's kind of made a bit of sense.
Yeah, I'd go more fat, but that's all right. It's a step in the right direction.
So then what happens, before they publish this, they need to go for industry consultation.
Right, industry consultation. So with other nutritionists, other dietitians, that's what you mean? Other doctors?
No, we're talking about economy. So they need to do an economic impact review on their new policies.
Okay.
Based on the economic impact review,
So
there's
not a health review.
No, this is economic. This is industry.
Sorry, I
so
thought we
the
were
economy. This is the economy, Steve.
Okay. Makes sense.
We're talking sugar tax. It's all about money here.
Yes, okay.
So basically, what they did is they said, okay, so the scientists, the experts, the food people, the analysts, the statistical scientists have all said this is the way we should eat for our better health.
Okay,
and this is
good.
the education that we want to be providing out to the people.
Yeah.
You know, don't add a heap of sugar, don't eat a heap of soft drink, eat more fruits and veg.
Yeah, sure.
And nuts and seeds and that sort of stuff. And
Yep.
and then, so the Congress, the American Congress, so all these industries, so they went through, for starters, Brazil, Mauritius, other places where their economy runs on sugar,
Yes.
have actually said, we don't think that's fair, because for trade, we've got trade rules. We've already implemented strategies that associate business, you know, between America and all these different places. We've got trade. We've got plans.
Supersedes
This
self.
is money.
Yeah,
We've
gotcha.
got money associated with this. You can't afford to do that. To the point that these industries, bodies, including, I've got to find the name of this one. You got some of the quotes out of this. It's
amazing, isn't it?
Like it's saying here, the threat being described by the World Health Organization insiders is tantamount to blackmail and worse than any pressure exerted by the tobacco lobby.
Woo!
Hey man, it's messed up. Hey, it's saying here, the decided on the 10% limit is scientifically flawed, insisting that other evidence indicates that a quarter of our food and drink intake can safely consist of sugars.
A quarter of our food.
So a quarter of your calories, Steve, is you'll be healthy if a quarter of your calories came from soft drinks or added sugars and that sort of stuff. And taxpayers' dollars should not be used to support misguided, non-science-based reports which do not add to the health and well-beings of Americans, to the point that the American Congress threatened to pull their funding from the World Health Organization if they publish these recommendations based on science. That based on their economy and the implications it will have to their industry, they believe that the World Health Organization should change their recommendations of 10% calories from refined sugars back up to 30% and take that 20% back off the fat lobby. So I don't know what the fat guys did to the sugar guys, because the sugar guys made them fat anyway. No, just joking. The big point is they said, now the funding that goes from the American Congress to World Health Organization is $500 million a year.
$500 million a year.
So they said, we'll pull that because our taxpayers are paying that money, and our taxpayers don't believe your research because our taxpayers want to support the sugar industry.
Of course they do. I want to drink soft drink to help Coca-Cola out, doesn't anybody?
It was messed up. And so it's basically saying, and they say it wants a full economic analysis of the impact of the recommendations on all 192 member countries. And so they're basically saying the economic thing is bad. Oh, by the way, I keep forgetting, the coalition, so these guys, the associations together with 6 other big food industry groups has written, and they're the ones driving this.
Yes.
The coalition that's pushing for this World Health Organization to be totally scrapped.
Yep.
And Congress to pull funding unless they change this report for the whole world.
Yep.
Includes more than 300 companies headed up by Coca-Cola and PepsiCo.
Well, do they make sugary products? I can't remember. Hang on, let me think. Yes,
if you
they
actually
do.
listen and go on YouTube, it's quite funny actually. Go on YouTube and you see the CEO of Coca-Cola explaining the reason why Coca-Cola exists is because they are the main hydrators of the world. They actually, and the funny thing is she went back and said, no, seriously.
Actually,
I think
she's probably right.
Yeah, she says, no, we actually ship more water around the world than anyone.
It's probably true.
And he's just going, man, you do move a lot of water.
Well, you look at the supermarkets. I mean, you got to remember that a lot of people drink Coke. You know, the full sugar Coke.
This is a funny thing, Steve-O.
What's
Sorry.
this? What's
the
this?
International Life Sciences Institute, founded by Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, General Food Co's Kraft, Procter & Gamble, has also gained accreditation to the World Health Organization, UN's Food Agriculture Organization.
Well, they can't
so they're
be biased.
basically running the bloody show, and they're the ones that are paying all the money tax
Yes.
that the Congress then gives to the World Health Organization.
Yes.
And the Congress is then saying, now World Health Organization, if you tell people in America not to eat all these sugary foods, we're not going to have any money to give you because we're not going to have a tax. Oh, what's the answer?
Oh,
A sugar tax.
of course.
Oh, of course. If we
So-
tax the sugar, that
Yes.
way we can eat less, tax the sugar, get the money back to the funding, keep it all running, run the whole bloody show. What a load
Jeez.
of crap, mate.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, the bottom line is how's it all worked out for us? It's been a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, whether we think sugar does nothing like Australia's leading dietitian, or we look at reality. The facts are it's been a disaster. Men are now 70% overweight. Like 70% of us are
Yeah,
overweight.
yeah.
So it's getting worse.
Of course it's getting worse. And it's because back in the 40s, they changed the rules.
Yes.
Because of the sugar lobby.
Yep.
That's when they implemented this food pyramid. It hasn't changed since.
No.
It wasn't until the 1980s that they started 20 years later is when they started going, hang on, man, this is a bit weird.
After
This
20 years of
research.
industry.
Then they said, look, we're going to have to disclose if there's a conflict of interest. So then they made that change.
Yes.
Then they just kept doing that, disclosing that conflict of interest and made no bloody difference because the conflict of interest might have been funded by things like the International Life Sciences Institute.
Sounds like a good institute to me.
But if you were to say funded by Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Kraft, etc.,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, that's a bit bullshit. But no, not on the Institute of Life Sciences and the World Health Organization that is funded by Congress, that is funded by the Coca-Colas.
I remember when I was doing the some research for one of our studies, we were talking about artificial sweeteners, and I came across a paper that showed that aspartame wasn't bad at all, and I'm going, well, this is weird. And of course, under the disclosure, guess who wrote it? The guys who make aspartame.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's fully disclosed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like when I've served on boards and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you've got a perception of bias or a conflict of interest, you must disclose it. If
Yeah.
it's a perception of bias, you can stay in the room. If it's a direct conflict of interest, you must leave the room to
Yeah,
do the
right.
vote. That's under
Oh.
Corporations Act 2001. So if I said, I work for ATP Science, so I went in there and there was a ruling on ATP Science. So I work there, I've got a conflict of interest, and you leave the room.
Is that right?
Yeah, that you have to by law. And they call you back in.
Oh, man, you
So
serious?
when I was running a college of natural medicine and I was teaching that, and there was something on, some ruling about
Yeah.
colleges and that, I had to leave
Yeah.
the room. But a couple other people, we just
Because
go out
it's
there.
wild about because it's just as you're talking. I was just trying to find
Yeah.
this section in the paper because it's basically in this little article here. It was basically saying that when they announced that they're going to this report, there was all the sugar lobby people were in the room. So saying when it was basically saying here that they all huddled together when they met in Crete, the sugar people said if 10% limit was in, the whole report would be blocked. We all went into a huddle to try to work out how we're going to solve the problem. Like it's a
Problem.
This is business. This
Yeah.
is similar business meetings to what you'd see happening, but this is health. You
Yes.
know, this is what bugs me. Now, just quickly at the end of it, the reason why these guys keep going back saying a 25% is okay, they keep quoting back to this one bloke. Saying, hey,
bloke
this
was
bloke,
that?
this bloke Thompson, his name was,
Ah.
and when they got a hold of, and even Mr. Thompson has written letters to the sugar lobby saying, I never said that. No, they've taken it. It actually says here that it wasn't written. I never wrote that. They've taken it out of context. There was no statement in my paper that they referenced saying these
So
things.
they're making up shit.
Yeah, and so they're saying they're quoting from a report that says 25% is good, but if you actually read the report, it doesn't say that. And the author is sitting there saying, I never said that. Like, that doesn't even say it in my report, and I've never said that. They've got a weird-ass interpretation.
Oh, well, okay. So they got a weird ass interpretation. And
Another classic sign. So what the sugar lobby people are saying is, so because they've said things like sugar doesn't cause tooth decay,
yes.
and they've given references for that. They've said
Right.
sugar doesn't cause obesity, sugar doesn't cause diabetes. Interestingly, just some guy followed some of those references and wrote a letter into one of the medical journals, which did get published.
Yeah.
Basically saying, if you follow the reference that they say sugar doesn't cause tooth decay, the actual reference says sugar causes tooth decay.
Yes.
It's saying in undeveloped countries where they rely on a lot of refined sugars, the low socioeconomic group, where they
Yep.
eat refined sugars, soft drinks and all that sort of stuff for their energy, have more tooth decay.
Yeah.
And it's saying the sugar causes that. The same link that they gave for obesity said sugar and alcohol are recognised as common sources of excess energy intake that contribute to obesity. And this is in their reference. The heart disease thing basically says plasma triglycerides rose when sucrose was substituted for starch, in which 70% of the energy came from carbohydrate, and they got heart disease.
Yeah.
Then the diabetes one is saying there's a massive increase in diabetes when you eat sugar. And it's just Like if you follow the reference, they put all this stuff in plain sight. You follow the references, you can just read it and just go, hang on. What? But you've just got newspapers, you've got media just saying these dumbass stuff, simple statements. Like, what's that brochure you're holding there?
This is the dietitian. I'm going to take you to 2018 now.
We're here.
This is the statement where we mentioned in our last podcast. Remember last week we talked about this statement where it says, "Does sugar cause diabetes?"
Part 1 you're referring to, Master.
Part 1, that's exactly right. And this was back. This is a leading professor at Sydney University, still working, still current, all that sort of thing. And she said, "Does sugar cause diabetes?" Says no.
So she's still got a license after saying
yep.
this? Okay.
No, there is absolute consensus that sugar in food does not cause diabetes. End of story. And that's been rebutted by huge people. So I'm gonna give you a big tick to an economist here called Rory Robertson.
Rory Robertson. I love that
Rory
name. That's
Robertson,
a strong name,
isn't it? Now Rory Robinson, hates sugar, and he's a data dude. He's not a nutritionist, but he looked through all the data that she's quoted and said that no, sugar levels have dropped down and obesity's gone up. Okay, this is what her claim was.
Sugar's gone down?
Sugar's consumption gone down the last 30 years.
Is that because of a tax?
No, it hasn't been. So in fact, sugar consumption's increased. And anyway,
can I do that? Can I put in a disclaimer? Bullshit.
So of course it's been a substantial increase, and she authored a study once, and she's been asked by the people to retract that study because it's false and all this sort of stuff. So she's in a bit of trouble there, but
doesn't
basically
stop the government using her as a spokesperson to say what they want.
But Rory actually said, listen, he went through the data and said no, sugar is bad for you, and if you prove me wrong, I will give you $40,000 out of his pocket.
Yep. And when did he say that?
2012.
Oh.
Still
no one's.
Yep. And he's actually being threatened at the university now because this was published in the Australian newspaper. Anti-sugar campaigner faces uni ban. Why would someone who's anti-sugar face a ban for anything? It's like, the University of Sydney has threatened to ban high-profile financial markets economist and anti-sugar campaigner from his campus, accusing him of intimidating one of its top academics as they feud over the role of sugar in fueling obesity. I agree with the economist, not the dietitian. Rory Robinson, a former Reserve and Macquarie Bank economist, has angrily denied the accusation, the emails, blah, blah, blah. Basically, he's saying what you said, bullshit, and saying that sugar's bad for you. And he's going, oh, that's criticising a diet. You can't do that. Yeah. So you can't, you can't disagree with someone who's sold millions of copies worldwide and claim, quote, there's an absolute consensus that sugar in food does not cause diabetes. As you correctly pointed out, if it stays in the food, it doesn't cause it. When you eat it,
it's only the sugar in your blood that'll make you diabetic.
It's just absolutely staggering. Like,
although if you measured my banana.
Well, I've asked John about you. No, we won't go there. No. But the funny thing is that it's absolutely, he's actually calling bullshit on sugar causing obesity, which it does.
Yeah.
There's so many mechanisms. You can talk about insulin, your gut microbiome. Yeah. You can talk about the extra calories. The fructose causing, lipogenesis.
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge that there is a definite link with the microbiome.
Yes.
Because it can actually help us to get rid of the calories in, calories out debate.
Yes.
Because that's a big part with sugar.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to justify the use of sweeteners.
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to acknowledge that obesity, cardiovascular disease is a major contributing factor. That is our gut ratios of bugs, and overgrowth of firmicutes, deficiency of Akkermansias and bacteroidetes, those sort of things that contribute to that profile, obesogenic profile.
Yep.
Because if they get their way and they induce a sugar tax and we all tricked we all then go, okay, well, now we're going to eat those soft drinks anyway because we love them, but now they're going to be full of sweeteners. So you might be consuming less calories because you're having the sweeteners instead of a high sugar drink.
They got no calories.
But you still get the same problems according to the research.
Absolutely you do. And this is what's staggering me. And this guy who's an economist who went through all the data, he's a data guy, he's been through all the research, no. And our listeners know that sugar's bad for you, don't they? They know. Fancy saying there's no proof that sugar causes diabetes or obesity. It's absolutely mind-boggling. This guy's speaking up against it and he might be banned. Poor old Rory. He's in trouble.
You're not a doctor anyway, so...
Oh, he's an economist.
From?
Oh, he's getting kicked out of the uni.
Oh, okay.
Because he's an economist.
Might go get paid properly and have a real job.
Well,
Let's contact Rory and see if he wants to come and do some work with us if he gets kicked out.
He's also a former fatty. That's what he calls himself. So I'm not being it's a former fatty because he gave up sugar and lost, umpteen kilos of weight or something.
Oh, yeah.
So he's an economist. He's been out there in the real world, worked for Macquarie Bank and Reserve Bank.
Was that the guy that's written the books?
I don't know if he's written any books, actually, probably economy books. I wouldn't have read them.
Yeah, no, me neither.
My economy is, that sort of thing is a little
I
bit
still
dodgy.
put boobs on my calculator. That's my economical investigations. But anywho, speaking of boobs on my calculator.
Oh, God.
This is bullshit. So what we're basically saying is we've ended up in a position where since the 40s, they knew that we needed 30 to 40% fats, less sugar. The sugars that were naturally found in our fruit and vegetables are fantastic.
Absolutely.
Protein, as long as it's adequate to maintain our muscle mass and that extra doesn't do much. Yeah. So it's basically protein adequate. Get your good oils at around 30% or 40% or whatever, around about there. And then keep your carbs whole.
Yeah.
Just eat your carbs as real food.
Yeah.
Don't drink anything you can eat.
Yep.
The sugar tax is a load of crap, and it won't affect you if you're not eating refined packaged products. If you grocery shop around the outside and dodge the aisles, so if you just go around the outside of your shopping centre where you get your meats and your fruits and veggies and that sort of stuff and dodge the aisles, you probably won't even notice.
Well,
the aisles are going to say 20% more expensive, 50% off.
They are. It's going to up the price of things like bread as well because they put sugar in bread. Just so I don't know if you guys know this, but they put sugar in bread to brown the outside of the bread because when you heat sugars with proteins or gluten, in this case, it causes a browning reaction called the Maillard reaction, and that's your crusts on the thing makes it go brown.
Yeah.
So
that's why it only happens on the outside because it's got the oxygen there.
Yeah, oxygen.
There's no oxygen on the inside.
It forms advanced glycosylated end products, which in your body causes radical advanced glycosylated end products.
Do you have an official reference or anything? Does it make your chest hair grow and does it make your hair curly?
I don't know about that. I mean,
I ate a lot of crust.
Yeah, it shows.
And I'm a hairy, curly guy.
I'm pretty hairy. I have to shave, and otherwise I look like a Neanderthal. You look good with a beard. I look shit.
Yeah, that's true, Steve. I do look good.
I look like a 70s porn star with a moustache. It's disgusting. It's just awful. So facial hair for me doesn't work. But I don't know about certainly the browning on bread is quite dangerous for you. But bread's bad for you anyway.
It won't make your chest hair grow.
No, I don't
think
it will.
Curly,
I don't think it will.
Girls get the girls. It has been proven.
Right. Well, my nickname used to be Curly when I was a muso with long hair.
That's what I'm referring to. And are those pictures still on Facebook, Steve-O? Because there was I used to be on Facebook, and every once in a while I want to get back onto Facebook for two things. Your flat-faced cat.
Yes.
And secondly, there was a friend of yours once that posted some photos of you when they used to know you in the 80s, wasn't it?
In the 80s.
Where you used to be known as Curly, and he used to be a busker on the Gold Coast. And when he wasn't busking on the Gold Coast, he was modelling on the beach wearing undies. And there are photos online of Steve-O doing the old Mr. June with his budgie smugglers and the long curly hair.
Gorgeous.
It's classy stuff, eh?
Can't keep your eyes off.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It almost broke the internet.
Oh.
In fact, I think she posted at the same time as Kim Kardashian's bum. And then what happens when the two went up at once, it was just too much.
Too much for the public. I mean, rock star singer, still playing a band these days,
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I was in the studio.
I'm a beautiful singer. Not many people know that, but there have been, I have sung for people that have cried.
I actually played the track of Gut Right Baby. Remember that part?
I do, and I did the Gut Right Baby bit. And it's like an angel. Like sometimes I just start singing and they think it's an angel playing a harp. And they cry a little, and they think, that's so beautiful, Matt. I just have to stop. It gets awkward,
When you sing,
it's really awkward because people who want to make eye contact just sometimes don't. You can't listen to my angel voice and make eye contact. Like, I don't know what could happen. You may not recover.
It just sounds like, when you sing, I think, is that Freddie Mercury on the radio?
Oh, no, Freddie's not that good.
Oh, no, he's not that good, no.
It's pretty amazing. It's hard, like I say, it's really hard to describe. I describe it like an angel. Just the sound of their wings flapping with a harp.
Yes. Nice harp in the background.
Yeah. Anyway, so while we're talking about that, conspiracies suck. Yeah. Conspiracies facts suck more. But what really bugs me is the news goes on and on and on about absolute crap. The media talks all this stuff about do this, which fad diet works, because I've done it for 5 days.
Yep.
I put my reporter in to do 5 days, and keto stuff doesn't work. The Atkins stuff doesn't work. The only thing that works is not eating anything. In 5 days, I've lost weight. It's a load of crap, hey?
Well, it is. I remember.
And so they publish that, and then this stuff never gets on the news.
We talk about JAMA. I mean, in 2007, that study where they compared the Atkins diet, which is a super high fat diet and very low carb, against the Heart Foundation diet. The
Calorie
Atkins
matched?
Diet, yep, calorie matched. Atkins diet blew it away. More fat loss, lower blood pressure, better lipids, all that. So any diet's better than what the government recommends, in my opinion. That's the bottom of the food chain.
And what other parts are funding these things? For example, if Big Pharma had their way, everyone would be on cholesterol-lowering medication. Yeah. Well, and almost everyone is.
They've reduced the cut-off point. It used to be 5.5. Now it's 4.5 is high cholesterol. So soon it's going to be 3.5. Everyone's going to have high cholesterol. So it's just a big bullshit business plan. And honestly, so if you have a look at the food pyramid in Australia, if we could eat coal, that would be a major part of the food pyramid because that's a very important industry for us with a lot of money involved. In America, it's all corns and all that sort of stuff. So these food pyramids are based on industry, and they're based on industry when they're not allowed to publish the scientific evidence without industry consultation first. They need to have an economic impact review from the World Health Organization. What's it going to do to the world economy with all these multinationals controlling our energy and our food, and then ultimately the sickness industry generating most of the income for all the taxpayers? It's just insane. It's crazy. And it gets even worse than that because a lot of people, I mean, most people who listen to this are skeptical of the 5 stars on Wheat Bix and the 4.5 stars on Milo. I mean, it's dodgy as hell. And if you look at who funds those, one of them's Nestle.
Yeah, there you go.
So a bit sodgy. And most people listening are aware of that, but you've got to remember the average Joe Smog out there who listens to the radio said, Wheat Bix has the 5-star rating, and they go out and buy boxes of this stuff and eat it as a mono food. No, all processed and milk and yuck.
We will change the world eventually. So what we do when we do this and we provide this education for people, we'll also provide them with the products and everything that they love and get to use. They'll get the results that we expect because this is real.
Yes.
And then what will happen is people start to see what we're doing. Then what will happen is people at Nestle will then go through and say, there's money to be had in health. These people are really helping people.
Yes.
I hope
so.
I want to get involved.
Yeah.
Because I want the money maybe, but I want to get involved. The end result is we're going to change the world.
Absolutely.
That's why every person out there, as an individual, if you start just thinking about what you're doing, don't just follow the thing. Look at nature, eat these things, take responsibility for your own health. Purchase using your purchases. Like these sugar taxes wouldn't even be discussed if the top 20 list of foods from your Woolworths list were actually meat and fruit and veg.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're all Coca-Colas and that. So this is what's happening. So if we can implement these sort of education, if the government was to go through, all of a sudden our farmers will be selling real food.
Yes.
That will help the industry, all that sort of stuff. People will be healthier. People will be more productive. People pay more tax, all that sort of stuff. Everyone's spending money on these things. The big boys then will get involved. This is the key. This is the way to change the world, is to actually make the change. You be the person you want to be, or be the person your dog thinks you are.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And everyone will be happier. Probably the people from Mackay mightn't be so happy though, would they?
Oh, but I come from sugarcane country. I'll probably be not allowed back now. But but you have a look at this, okay?
Yes.
This is a good thing. I'm glad you brought this up, Steve.
Yeah,
I can't help the coal industry in that instance, but if you have a look at the sugarcane industry, 80% of their product is thrown away.
Yeah.
80% of their product is fibre.
Yep.
It's polyphenols. Yep. It's sterols. Now, if you have a look at the sugarcane plant, yes, we get sucrose inside it. It's not a huge percent of the plant.
No.
If we use the whole plant, then what we're going to get with that sugar is fibre, polyphenols. Sterols are cholesterol-lowering compounds that are found in the outside of the sugarcane. So if we were to actually eat natural food... Now, sweeteners, if we were to use something like stevia, whole stevia, not highly refined stevia, the stevia that still contains some polyphenols, we're going to get some sweetness without the calories. We're going to get a lot of polyphenols to regulate the gut flora.
Good stuff.
High-quality monk fruits and that sort of stuff are the same. But if we're looking at sucraloses and aspartames and that sort of stuff, it's going to be evil. If we're looking at a sugar industry like we see in Mackay, where they have built the whole thing about dehydrating the juice from the sugarcane and throwing everything else away, they have the ability to use all that 80% of the industry they're throwing away to fix their sugar. Yes. And I'm not even saying that you have to stop the sugar. Yeah. I'm just saying if we ate the bloody sugar as sugar cane, not as dehydrated sugar cane juice, then we wouldn't have the same health problems.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, sugars can be turned into ethanol, which can be put into cars to be burnt as a substitute for petrol.
Yeah, exactly.
So, ethanol is C2H5OH, which is not too far from C6H12O6, which is glucose.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking all sorts of C's and numbers just when you mentioned that.
You can tell them stupid chemistry thing comes out every now and again.
Sailor went to CCC to see what he could CCC.
Yeah.
But all that he could CC was the bottom of the CC.
That's right.
I don't know what it was. I
remember
forgot the
that
end.
one.
But anyway, something to do with C1623. Now.
Right. So, summing up, whole foods, quality proteins, super duper healthy fats, as we saw.
And don't believe what you're told. It's usually
No.
bullshit. Do your own research. And in fact, because we aren't saying these things, we are repeating what scientists have said. We're going to put all the references and everything together so you can do the recommended reading and track down all these sort of things.
Question
and compare
everything.
them to these lines that have absolute consensus.
Oh, that's
quotes.
a shocker. Still can't get over that.
So this is a basic thing. Don't believe everything you read.
Yep.
Take control. We have the ability to change the world if we just do it one person at a time. It actually happens. There's a lot of us.
Absolutely.
So, if you think you're too small to make a difference, then imagine a mosquito in your room at night when you try to sleep.
Oh.
Those little bastards will get everyone up and moving. So there's no way
Suckers.
of thinking that you're not effective. We are the people making the purchases, so therefore we have the ability to change the people making the products.
Yes.
And we can change policies at the same time by just doing whatever the bloody hell we like if we do our own research, and we can be smart about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So our goal is educate your people, help people find information to the true stuff, try to share the information as much as possible. So hopefully we helped you do that.
Question everything. I mean, don't listen to government things.
Question what we say too, because you're listening to our
Ask for
interpretation of
references.
what we read.
Email in.
So go read it. You might find something else in it. What else we got? Nothing?
Well, sugar's a big topic. The biochemistry is clear. We know the evidence of how sugar causes things. Sugar also stuffs our hormones up too.
And we've seen all the conspiracies of everything hidden. So I think we've heard, I don't think a sugar tax is going to help.
No.
At the end of that. And
Not
I
gonna
think
help.
what's going to help is open transparency, honesty and unbiased research
And
and
education.
genuinely thinking about what's best for the people, not what's best for the economy.
And it's been a great little podcast, hasn't it?
Oh, man.
Bit of a laugh.
We're going to be in trouble.
Oh, yeah. I hope Jeff
Good
doesn't
luck
listen to this.
editing that, Vanessa.
Yes.
Don't consult with Brooker.
No.
All right, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week, and maybe have an adult supervision back.
We need it.
All right, we
All
need it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Hang on.
That's better. It's more accurate, isn't it? More accurate off the arse.
Stung a little bit, that one.
I bet it did.
I like it.
I heard it
That's
through
why
the...
I like it.
Oh,
Oh, you had a bit of a sting on that.